I think it looks very good. The finer details of the car underneath are certainly a step ahead of what they were last year. I think what Andrew and the team back at Force India, all those hours that they've put into designing that car, hopefully will pay off. Certainly looking at it, it looks nice. When it undertakes the track on the 7th of February in Anger, it's very exciting times. And equally to get in a new car and push forward and just see exactly where the foundations are, all the momentum that we've carried on from last year that's went into that car. You know, it's a nervous time. But you really just hope that it's a good foundation to build ahead of and then start to introduce the new parts ahead of the first race. Well, obviously it needs to be better than it was in the first year. You know, I'm not a rookie in Formula 1 anymore. I'm experienced. I certainly feel a lot more comfortable in the position I am, a lot fitter and ready for the challenge, really. I think the stability with Force India, the way that their technical partners and everything's working together really just pushes the team to that extra step, lets us focus on other areas and really hopefully, you know, we'll be scoring points to make the difference to becoming hopefully a step higher as a constructor. Team's targeting 5th, so that would mean to overcome Lotus, which is obviously a car manufacturer with a huge amount of experience and a World Championship winning team not so long ago. So we need to up our game, but everybody's in good spirits. I think the position that we put ourselves in at the end of last year and the amount of work that went in and effort, I think if we can continue that, that will make the difference. Yeah, Nico has obviously been part of this team last year. He undertook the same role that I did in 2010, doing some Fridays, doing a lot of simulator work. So the board took the decision to put Nico in the car. Obviously, it doesn't make too much of a difference who my teammate is, but I'm sure we'll work well together. There's a good competitive nature there, and I believe you know, we'll work as a teammate and just drive the team that little bit further. And obviously, the team feel that that's the best driver lineup that they've got.
Very good. Very good feeling, to be honest. Yeah, as you said, 2011 wasn't an easy year for me after, you know, when you're a Formula 1 driver 2010, then to be on the sidelines in 2011, obviously it's not easy, it's not what I wanted, but I think still we had a good year with the team, with Sahara Force India, with 13-14 Friday practices, which was, you know, enough to show the team or to prove the team that and convince them to give me a chance, which is good and great for me to be back this year, and very exciting times obviously now. New car looks good. It looks very neat. Obviously the nose will take some time to get used to the new shapes with the new regulations there, but other than that I like what I've seen. It looks fast, but now we have to prove it's fast as well. Yeah, that's something obviously which, you know, will take a little bit of time and need some racing, just the real race experience to get that completely back. Obviously testing and driving in Friday morning in P1 is different to racing, we know that. But I've done racing since I was 7 years old, so I've experienced it before, I know what to do. But still I think you need to bet in a little bit again to get to your peak. Well, I think the first thing in testing is always to get the car reliable. And then surely you get to do some setup work, get to know the new Pirelli tires, the compounds, learn about tires, your car, and also find out about weaknesses which you then, you know, can develop in the factory, in the wind tunnel to make the car stronger.
Well, to be in Sahara Force India for sure it's a great thing for me. I have been yesterday for the first time at the factory. It's looked like a small family, so it's just amazing to see everybody works together. Yesterday we have seen the team working really hard to finish the car for today, for the presentation of the new car, so I'm really happy to be here. It's going to be a really important season for my career and for my experience in Formula 1, and I hope I will do a good job with the team. I will try to do my best, and we will see, but for sure I'm really motivated, and I can't wait to drive and start working.
Well, mechanically, we look to develop what we had last year. As far as tyre performance is concerned, tyre understanding, as I stand here now, you know, we know infinitely more about tyres, Pirelli tyres, than we did 12 months ago. So there's a lot of work gone into the suspension design and structure to give us to try and optimise the tyres more. That was a small part of it. The big change for us, the aerodynamic principles on the car have fundamentally changed, and we've moved away from what I would call old school Force India aerodynamics to more current thinking. It's a decision we took over a year ago now, and it's taken a long time to get this far and develop this car. We did a lot of testing on Fridays last year with new concepts and trying to understand where the benefits were, where they weren't, where the issues were, and this is the fruits of it. And it starts around the front wing. See, the front wing is completely different to previous cars out of Silverstone factory, and we believe it's a good step forward. The wind tunnel numbers are very encouraging, and we just hope to translate that. Now the target is to translate that onto the track, because there's no point having the best wind tunnel model. You can't have the best car. So that's our target now, to do all our more understanding during winter testing, feed that back to the wind tunnel, and try and carry on developing as we did last year. We had a succession of good developments last year, starting from around the middle of the season. Our confidence in aerodynamic upgrades is very high now. We do believe we can, what the tunnel says, we can put onto the car and turn into real performance. And we'll carry on doing that this year. That's the strategy. We'll be upgrading the car continually this year. There'll be some upgrades at the end of the testing and for Melbourne and beyond. And it's just a continuation of where we left off, but with a completely new car. Well, the most significant change has been the exhaust for us as a team. That was a huge area of downforce for the car. I think we exploited it quite well. We were nowhere near reaching its limit, but it was still a huge gain for us last year. And it took us a while. It's taken us a while to claw that back. So for us, that's the biggest change. Visually, it's probably not the biggest change on the car. Visually, the front of the car is quite different. The regulations around the front of the nose have driven the height of the nose down. Our aerodynamic philosophy has always been to create space under the nose, so the two are in conflict. So we're trying to lift the nose up, the regulations are trying to push the nose down, and we end up with this little slither of nose that sits in the middle that aesthetically is not the nicest looking nose in the world, but we're driven by aerodynamics, and it's aerodynamics that make this car perform, and we'll do everything that we can to improve the downforce on the car, and we're not too worried about what the nose looks like.
Well, winter, as you heard earlier, has been short. Short in the fact that we were racing for 6th place till the final race, which meant that we had to keep developing last year's car quite late. That means winter was very, very busy. We had 71 days from the last race to the first day of testing, and in that time we had to finish the design and produce this car, along with a lot of wind tunnel testing to get the aerodynamics, which is a big part of the performance, correct. So it's been the busiest winter that I've been involved in. Also, coupled with the fact that all the crash tests had to be completed and passed before we went testing, which added an extra amount of workload and effort on the team. So it has been really busy, but having said that, when you come out of that busy period, you think crash tests are all passed, we're almost ready to go racing. Well, to me, form follows function, and when you first look at it, I wouldn't call it pretty, but if it's quick, it will soon become a pretty car, because quick racing cars eventually end up looking good independent of what they looked at when they were first born. So hopefully it will end up a very good looking car. Yeah, long season ahead. Like I've said before, we've planned for it. So we're going to do some things differently in order to help the mechanics that have a big task every weekend, and now there's 20 of those, and they're compacted. There's more back-to-backs this year as well. So it will be difficult, but like I said, we've planned for it, and hopefully we'll be okay for the 20 races. It'll be competitive. In the midfield where we're running, I think it's more competitive than it is at the top. I mean, if say you're a Ferrari or a Mercedes, it's almost difficult to end up in 6th place. Even last year, the Ferrari drivers were going to finish where they were going to finish because they had a very competitive car, independent of what they did on the pit lane, independent of how they used the tires, independent of not starting with the right amount of fuel, independent of a lot of things. You can just mess that because they had a quick car. With us, you make a mistake in a pit stop, or you start with a little bit less fuel than you should have, you're a bit too aggressive, and you're in a different position, and that different position could end up costing you a whole championship spot at the end of the day. I mean, we're only a few points ahead of our competitors and 5 points behind Renault last year. So it is very competitive where we are.
I think we're going to be in for a very, very challenging year. I can think of 5 or 6 teams not only wanting to do what we're wanting to do, but capable of it too. So I believe genuinely that the fight for 5th place is probably going to be almost as exciting as the one for the championship. I think from a personal point of view, I think it's probably one of the most exciting driver lineups on Formula One today. I mean, they're both relatively young, extremely talented, and I don't think that we should take the fact that they're relatively inexperienced into consideration. I mean, these two guys are, I believe, World Championship material. I think the Indian Grand Prix was one of probably the successes of 2011. I think great credit to the owners of the circuit, to VJ and Sahara for obviously promoting and doing all the work they did. We will continue on with that. I mean, both VJ and Sahara are two of the most prominent sports promoters in India. They both have put huge amounts of money and effort into promoting sport, and we will just continue on and build. And Sahara Force India will be pushing forward all the time to take media space. We need to push the cricket away a little bit.